What's going on, everyone? Today we're going to come at you again with another video talking about dividend. How much money do you need to get $1,000 a month? That's roughly about $12,000 a year or $1,000 a month. Well, if you do the 4% rule or 4% for dividend, it roughly equals out to $400,000 if you get a good dividend yield. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about the math to calculate the capital requirement for a specific amount for the annual dividend target and the required capital with some example and some pitfalls to avoid so that you do not make these mistakes. So let's get into this video. I'm YB and I spent an ungodly amount of time studying about finance research, and one of the biggest thing I like to is dividend income. But there's some downfalls to them. So the first downfall is the yield trap. Now, chasing yield of 8% to 10% is very dangerous, as these high numbers often indicate the company's in distress, likely leading to dividend cuts or stock price decrease. And I'll show you an example in this video. Now, the S&P 500 limitation. While it's a great growth stock, the S&P yield has around 1.5 on dividend. It's not that great on paying out dividends. So if you want $1,000 a month, you roughly need to invest $800,000 to get it if you want from the S&P. So that is some of the issue. The other issue is the required capital. Now, a realistic amount of money that you can get $1,000 from with a 4% yield is roughly about $300,000. And it'll generate about $1,000 a month at a say 3% yield required. So those are some of the issues that you may run into. The other issue is the boring phase. Yes, for the next 5 or 7 years, the snowball effect is very minimal. 90% of your growth will come from your own contribution. And the last issue is the impact on taxes. Now, if you didn't know, taxes can significantly hurt you and your take-home income because dividend income is taxable. Now, there is places that you can take advantage of this, like a 401k, a Roth IRA, a IRA. Those are the places you can go. So let's go into some of these examples so that you can see it and run the math. We're going to look at ETFs so that we can hopefully find one that does 4% that has a good outcome. All right, so first we're going to look at a few stocks that I recommend to buy and one stock that I do not recommend you to buy. And I just Google what is a good ETF to buy for their dividend. And the very first one is SCHD. Now, it gets a 3.38% dividend yield. So how do you calculate how much money you need for $1,000? Well, $12,000 a year is annually times or divided by 0.00338, and you roughly need $355,000. And that's how you calculate how much money you need in SCHD. Now, should you buy or should you not? SCHD is a very popular dividend stock, and that's given a 3.38%. So it's very doable if you're trying to get $1,000 a month. Now, what is SCHD and how well they've been doing? Well, year to date, they're up 12%. 1 year, they're up 12.63%. 3 years, they're up 28.82%. And 5 year, they're up 27.77%, which it pays out a dividend it pays out a real good dividend yield. So, yes, you need $355,000 if you want dividend from it, or if you want $1,000 a month or $12,000 a year annually. Now, let's move into another one. Now, Pacer Global Cash Cow GCOW. It pays a 4.48% dividend yield. It has an expense ratio of 0.60%. Now, it has been doing pretty good. It's up 22.72% for 1 year. 3 years is up 38%. And the 5 years, it's up 47.88 with a dividend payout of 4.48%. Now, what do? Total return performance of the Pacer Global Cash Cow Dividend 100 Index. The funds will invest 80% of its total asset in components of the index and invest that have economic characteristics that substantially identify in the economic characteristics such as securities. So it's pretty good stock. Now, just to do the math, let's do 5 years and you invest $300,000 and see how it does. So in 5 years, $300,000, 1 year return estimated, you get $66,000. 3 years return, you get an estimate $176,000, and the 5 years return, you estimate get $251,000. So it does have a pretty good return rate on it. So let's do the math. How much do you have to have? Well, 12,000, right? Divided by 0.00448. 0.00448, and you roughly need $267,000 in this to have $1,000 a month. Now, that's still a lot of money. So let's go into another one and see how well it does. PFF. Now, remember, I pulled up the top 3, and so I'm going to look at it. Is this a good ETF to buy? The expense ratio is 0.45% with a dividend yield of 5.83%. Now, year to date is down 0.19%. 1 year is down 0.32%. 3 years is 0.88%. And 5 years is down 18.6%. To me, I don't see any growth in this chart. So since there is no growth in the chart, means, hey, you might be getting paid a good dividend yield, but the value of the stock is slowly going down. So no, I do not recommend this. And we can look at it and see how much money you get in return. 1 year, you'll lose $2,320. 3 years, you get a $42,000 return, and 5 years you get a $26,000 return. So in the end of the day, this stock loses you money in the 1 year. So long term might be work out for you, but at the end of the day, I don't recommend this stock. If they're trying to trick you with this high dividend yield, but just in case, let's look at how much money you need for $1,000 a month. So 12,000 divided by dividend yield is 5.83. So 0.00583. You roughly need $205,000 if you want to get $1,000 a month. So that's how you figure it out, and that's how much money you realistically have to have invested in dividends if you want $1,000 a month. Now, I understand the downfalls for this. It needs a lot of money. Dividend income isn't the best idea, like some of these. But at the end of the day, it is up to you and how you want to invest. I believe in dividend investing because of what this guy says in this video, Mr. Wonderful.
Never buy a stock that doesn't pay a dividend. That has been your advice through and through. Why are these stocks more attractive?
You look at companies that don't pay distributions, don't return capital, how risky they are. Take a GoPro, for example. I'm not just picking one company. I'm just giving you a good example of a company that basically has lost 70% of its value, never returned a dime to shareholders. Or how about a company that's been around much longer, Yahoo? Never paid a dividend. It's never made money for anybody except all the CEOs that have gone through there and got whacked.
At the end of the day, it's up to you. I'm just showing you the stats and the numbers. Do not chase dividend yield. It's not going to work out for you. You can look it up, but always do your due diligence and research. So that's how much money you need to have invested if you get a 4% or 3 to 4% dividend return a year. Like, subscribe to my video, and that's all I got for you.